Hello, everybody. Welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing well. I hope that you are all doing absolutely fantastic and that you're all having a great day. Don't forget to leave a like on the video. It's a free and easy way to support the channel. A very big thank you to everyone who leaves a comment on every video, as it does help out the algorithm. And without any further ado, let's jump right into it. We are full force once again, unless you've somehow missed it. The cryptocurrency space has regained optimism over the course of the last 2 weeks. Not last 2 months. For some reason, a lot of the news that we've been getting, a lot of the energy that we have received as of late is that since we went back over $86,000 per Bitcoin, apparently 90,000 was the next barrier, and I believe the number that's constantly being thrown around is around $100,000 to $103,000 per coin to completely, fully validate that we are back on track and like on the actual bull run, bull market kind of scenario for the cryptocurrency market. We have been hard pressed as of late to actually find any kind of negative news or any analyst who doesn't believe that cryptocurrency prices are about to go a lot higher. Dennis Porter, what's his woman's name? Mary Sue, the one from ARK Invest, whatever her name is. And I mean, you really go across the board. Everyone is talking about that Bitcoin is on its way, especially at the end of April, the beginning of May, and apparently, once again, the time frame as we've been hearing it has been April, May, and June. And April has, in essence, kind of played out. We were around a $70-something thousand Bitcoin, above 90,000, depending on when you're looking at the market, what have you. Apparently, the next step with us flowing into summer is a $120,000 to a $130,000 Bitcoin. These are the current numbers that we are hearing. In the news today, data suggests that Bitcoin is currently trading at a 40% discount. Over 36,000 Bitcoin were withdrawn from Coinbase and Binance on the 25th of April alone. We have received a lot of, I'm not sure if you've been here for every single video, what have you. I know it's a lot of information to always absorb. The amount of Bitcoin being taken off of crypto exchanges right now is massive. And I mean, like, it's actually gargantuan. We have not seen this in almost a decade. That is a clear-cut number as to how little Bitcoin is currently on exchanges, how much is being taken off, and this usually very similar to when we hear that there are more stable coins being created, which has also been in the news as we've been going over. This is also a bullish indicator, typically by whales or institutions now, that it's time for the market to go back up. And I know it sounds weird, so I'll lightly explain. A very simple way to control cryptocurrency prices is to give the appearance of abundance. You can do this by a corporation, institution, a whale initiating a sell order that can never actually be filled. The problem is that that sell order will be so massive. Let's say someone is like, I want to sell 35,000 Bitcoin. It appears on the exchange, and what usually happens, at least in the past, is that a number of investors will see that sell order. It creates a sell wall, and people will begin to try and sell around that same exact number. It's usually a way to have more sell orders than buy orders, which then appears bearish, and therefore people become more negative on the market. At some point, that whale or that institution takes their coins off of the exchange because they never had any intention of actually selling them. And then people go, wait, what just happened? Why'd that whale move their coins? People remove their sell orders because they don't want to sell at a lower price if prices are about to go higher. It's a very simple form of manipulation. The other one is the secondary part, taking your coins off of an exchange. We've seen historically, especially as I've been here for a very long time, another easy way is to simply put your coins onto an exchange. No buy order, no sell order. Just dump your coins as a whale onto an exchange so that people see the amount of coins on an exchange has increased. Usually, or it would signify that someone is looking to sell their coins. If there's 1 million Bitcoin on an exchange and then by the end of the year there's 7 million, people go, well, people are probably gearing up to sell. The secondary part of that, once again, is that they have no intention of actually selling. I've said this 1,000 times before to a great deal of skepticism. What ends up happening is they simply put their coins onto an exchange. It looks like people are going to sell. They're waiting for a price. The amount has increased. Therefore, it creates a bearish amount of tension, and then at some point they take those coins off, and it's never like 15 coins or 150 Bitcoin. It's like tens of thousands of Bitcoin over the course of multiple weeks, decreasing the supply of Bitcoin on exchanges. As I've said thousands of times, those coins are not all liquid. A lot of the movement that you even see on crypto exchanges is usually coins swapping out from one person and swapping back to the exact same person. We have a lot of day traders out there. Those 35, 45, 60,000 coins are just passing through a small amount of hands. Everyone's waiting for someone else to make a movement in the market, and then they accumulate or they sell. They're not creating new Bitcoin. They're swapping the coins between themselves as they're selling. So when we do get news that a huge amount of crypto, Bitcoin, is being taken off of exchanges, it usually signifies that whales are kind of done playing the will I, won't I, am I gonna, I might sell it kind of game, and that it's time for prices to go back up. Bitcoin's fractal pattern from Q4 2024 could propel prices above $100,000 in April. I think it's all but a given. It says Bitcoin is currently trading at a 40% discount to its intrinsic value. This is according to Caparoli Investments founder Charles Edwards. In a recent post on Twitter, Edwards highlighted that since the April 2024 halving, which reduced block, which is crazy. Even reading that, it just, I do apologize a lot of times if I get flustered and or frustrated. The fact that the block rewards are only 3.12 right now, and we're not over a $200,000 Bitcoin is a complete joke. It's a complete and utter astronomical laugh in our faces right now. The fact that there's so little Bitcoin being accumulated, being produced. If you missed the news about the accumulation that we just had, the amount of Bitcoin that's going to institutions, the news basically revolved around the idea that institutions and companies kind of control the space, which is probably why we're seeing what we're usually seeing in the market. There's barely any Bitcoin being created. There's a small handful of whales. I think it was between, what was it? Was it 1,000 or 10,000 coins? I forgot exactly what the number was. They alone, those wallets are accumulating 300% more Bitcoin than is actually being created every single day. Bitcoin's energy value and estimation based on mining costs and energy consumption currently stands at 130,000 US dollars. There's a chart right there. An old, I guess not really old, but a motto that used to be quite popular was that the amount of energy that was being used to produce Bitcoin actually stood as a factor for how to be able to measure exactly how high Bitcoin should be at any given time and price, by basically saying higher the hash rate goes, the more energy that's needed. The more people that are plugging in their machines and validating transactions, therefore the higher Bitcoin's price should be. Recent data from CryptoQuant indicated that over 8,500 and something, $830 million worth of Bitcoin were withdrawn from Coinbase on the 24th of April. Negative inflows from Coinbase could point towards institutional buying or ETF-related purchases, reflecting underlying demand. I don't have the news here. It was more of a kind of moment. The last week alone has seen, I think, over $3 billion worth of inflows to Bitcoin ETFs. And once again, a number of news outlets express their shock and disbelief as to how this could actually happen when it's just complete logic. Every day, there are constantly inflows into the Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs. However, the news just usually ends up focusing on outflows. For some reason, even if it's $1 of an outflow, people take that as something incredibly negative. I've shown you before. I don't have it here. You can Google it if you so please. On any given day, we might see $36 million worth of inflows into the Bitcoin ETFs. And on that same day, as the day is closing, around $8 million will be an outflow. And that will be the news, that $8 million left the market, and therefore something scary, awful, and terrible has happened, and there's less investor demand. Nope, this one has consistently been, I think it was $3 billion over the course of the last week. And there's another pretty little chart right there. This development lines up with lines up with spot Bitcoin ETF inflows witnessed this week. Yes, it's all over the place. Really, though, the amount of people, and it's making sense. We should be a lot higher in price. B, we have moved already up from the 70s into the 90s. But at this point, especially in this market cycle, we should already be a lot higher. But the indications have been that we've been getting is that institutions have kind of realized that they fumbled, they waited a little bit too long. So they're kind of doing whatever they can right now to be able to just accumulate more, like as fast as humanly possible, trying to buy OTC. There's also an over-the-counter Bitcoin market tracker, which is also collapsed as well. As I think if you look at it, I think it's only 120,000 Bitcoin left on OTC markets across cryptocurrency exchanges. So yes, according to this, Bitcoin is currently undervalued by 40%. I think even that metric is excessively low. When you talk about everything that's been taking place, especially, what do you call it? What's this thing? With Capital 21, which I think is only going to be a major topic of discussion when they get to several 100,000 Bitcoin. And then people will understand what's going on. Yeah, that's the Bitcoin is 40% currently undervalued by these metrics. We should already be at $250,000, but, rich people are trying to buy. And yeah, let's move on. Also in popular news that was deemed, and I quote, incredibly important Ripple news, CME Group will be launching XRP futures pending regulatory approval. The operator of the derivatives exchange CME Group announced on Thursday. A lot of people are extremely excited about this, as the guesstimation kind of lies in that a company, a corporation, an institution, or an exchange launching XRP futures further validates XRP, adds liquidity to the market in some sort of way, and allows institutions another way to be able to dabble in XRP, as it were. From my experience, as I've been in this market for quite some time, we have seen that Usually, futures are a way, usually have been a way for institutions to actually manipulate the market and to move prices lower. And I say that from the standpoint of understand that there's really big money in this market. I'll leave that up to you to figure out what, who, how, and when, and why. It's not just us. And this is usually a fascinating misconception that people think that anything that happens is usually a result of us. We are no longer in control of this market. The news that we've been getting as of late from a logical standpoint is that Ripple's doing excessively well. Ripple's going to be working with a number of banks within the United States. Ripple's already working with a number of central banks. Ripple's working, you get the point. Stablecoin, going public, etc., etc., etc. A lot of these institutions would probably feel more comfortable accumulating XRP at 80 cents, $1.50, as opposed to nearing $2, $3, $4, $5, $7, $8, $9, $10 per XRP. So, not saying that it's something negative. It's just more of a, I've been here long enough. If you weren't here at the end of 2017, you can also Google this as well. The end of 2017, we got Bitcoin futures, and everyone was quite optimistic. And a number of analysts came forward and said, what usually ends up happening with futures is an extra level of manipulation by institutions who are trying to procure and or accumulate an asset. And everyone was like, you guys are absolutely insane. This is going to be hyper bullish. And then the market began to fall. Then we got news from the former head of the CFTC, the Commodities Futures Trading Commission, who was the head of the thing as they actually launched Bitcoin futures. And he said openly, that's why I said you can Google it if you haven't seen me talk about this 7 other times before. He said they were basically told to launch Bitcoin futures at the end of 2017 as a way to tame Bitcoin, T-A-M-E. You can Google it. You can find the article. Someone said we are going to tame Bitcoin. That was in 2017. Google it. The futures launched and then the price went down. The entire point of it was, in case you missed any of the other news, governments and institutions and central banks back in 2017 were terrified. It sounds like a joke. It's not. They saw Bitcoin go at the beginning of 2017 from, I believe, $600 or $700 to $20,000. Apparently, behind the scenes, governments were having discussions that they believed that Bitcoin was going to go in 2017 to $30,000 or $40,000 per coin in 2017. And they were afraid that this would cause kind of a, not a joke, like a collective mindset amongst the people that they should only be using Bitcoin or swap into Bitcoin or just use, really. So this is why the futures were initiated, to tame Bitcoin. So when I heard this news, I saw that everyone was quite excited and enthusiastic about what it could mean, and it could indeed mean something good. However, we've seen before, it's usually a way to manipulate prices for institutions to get in at a lower price. The launch follows the CME's debut of Solana futures in March, in addition to Bitcoin and Ethereum futures and options, which have been trading on the exchange for a while. Cool. We'll see what ends up happening. Usually give it a good month or two to see if it is producing something positive and or negative. The silver lining, extra silver lining, usually could be is that a lot of times we've found out that institutions are only like kind of interested in futures. So one of the things that people usually think is that it's going to be like 10, 30, 40, 80, 60 billion dollars worth of volume per day. And that's usually not the case, as we've even seen before, where the New York Stock Exchange launched Bitcoin futures. And I believe it was June 2018 or 2019. I want to say 2018. And the trading volume for the New York Stock Exchange's Bitcoin futures was zero. $0 because institutions were actually going for the underlying asset. So let's see if that actually ends up happening here as well. That's the very, very popular, important Ripple news. And yeah, let's move on. This was bound to happen. It was going to happen sooner than later, and I think that they've also been downplaying it a tiny bit to try and get people not to panic. Which, once again, no one should be panicking, but I think this is why they're doing it. Back in it's a lot of 2017 today. Back in 2017, as the cryptocurrency market was going up, we realized that we had a bit of an issue. There were multiple people who came forward and claimed that they were Satoshi Nakamoto. And as they did this, the price of Bitcoin would actually fall. It's kind of like a Banksy kind of effect. A lot of people don't want to know who Banksy is, and a lot of people want to know who Banksy is. One of the ideas in the art world is that if we ever figure out who Banksy actually is, and many people think they know who it is already, Banksy at this point should be around nearly 60 years old. A lot of people think they know who it is, but it's usually kept relatively hush-hush, what have you. The idea is that he lives in a mythological kind of sense where you see him do something and people go, wow, Banksy did that. But if you had a face to it, it would kind of take away a lot of the mysticism that Banksy offers in a lot of his work. Same thing is similar with Satoshi Nakamoto. If people figured out that Satoshi Nakamoto was a 68-year-old person who stayed home and played Minecraft all the time and just had Pop-Tarts for dinner, people would go, okay, that kind of thing. This segued into a lot of other new coins beginning to pop up on the market in 2015, 2016, and 2017. And people began to follow these people quite intently. They're the Justin Suns, the Charles Hoskinsons, the Vitalik Buterins, the guy Dan Larimer, the guy who made EOS. Like, they were closely followed on social media. The issue, and a gigantic one, was that whatever they posted had a gigantic influence on the price of that coin. This is why was it 2017? It must have been. Charlie Lee, the guy who made Litecoin, announced that he was going to step away from the space in general. He was going to do his own thing on the side, and people were very upset. Why? Because whenever he would post, today's a good day to buy Litecoin, people would buy Litecoin, and the coin's price would go up by 17%. If he had a bad day or said, hey, I can't find my dog, I don't know, whatever, the price would actually go down by 8%. So he said, I want this coin to exist on its own and not have me deeply involved in it. That's also when the guy from Dogecoin relatively left the market, but his was because he was like, I don't understand why this coin is going up in price. Because the guy from Dogecoin made the coin as a meme, and people began to take it seriously. Part of the other issue, the major issue, was that at the time, this coin came out of nowhere. People were talking negatively about it, and then all of a sudden it became the number 2 coin. It was Ethereum. It was $8, and it flew up to $1,200 per coin. At the head of the project was Vitalik Buterin. And part of the issue there is that everything this man did was heavily scrutinized. To the point where someone started a rumor, if you remember this, that Vitalik Buterin had actually passed on to the other side. That's a nice way of saying it. And he had to post a photo of himself with you can find it, holding up a piece of paper with the current hash. So like it was recent, and I think the post was called proof of life. So as opposed to like proof of stake and proof of work, it was called proof of life to show people that he actually hadn't passed on. The issue is that when that rumor spread, Ethereum's price began to fall. because everyone was just focusing on what this man was doing. He was the golden child of the entire project. So he announced after that, he's like, at some point I am going to step away slowly from the project. And it's something that needs to be done, because if not, people go completely insane and they focus on every single word and every single movement that someone's saying. If you didn't see it, this was around, it's happened multiple times. There was a photo of Vitalik Buterin in like a garden or something like that. I can't say the rest because it's quite explicit. Use your imagination, as he was standing next to a girl, and it was just because of like the camera angle, people thought, etc. And that actually caused people to be like, why are we in this project? It's such a terrible project. And it was like, nope, he's just standing next to someone. There's a bunch of photos. When you see him on stage, he'll have like a rainbow unicorn shirt, or he'll wear like slippers or something to an event. And people go, I can't believe I have my money in this project. He's ruining everything. The most recent one, for those of you who didn't see on top of everything else, was a video. I believe it was Vitalik went to see like a robot or something like that. And in the video, he gets close to it and I think he woofs. And everyone thought for some reason, like, you can't do that. You're the CEO of this project. And the problem is that he's a human. First of all, he's incredibly wealthy, so he can literally do whatever he wants. But the extra problem is that everyone scrutinizes everything. If he's not constantly sitting in a room writing code, trying to make everyone else richer, then he's a terrible person. If he goes out with his friends and people look at the wrong angle of a photo, he's a terrible person. If he's not sitting at a computer working on Ethereum layer 1, what are you doing? Why are you not making all of us rich? Vitalik Buterin will be stepping away from the day-to-day coordination of the Ethereum Foundation. Tomas K. Stanzak, the co-executive director of the foundation, says recent changes in leadership will free up the ETH co-creators' time for research and exploration rather than crisis response. This is why I had to tell you everything before I gave you what the actual news was. No matter what Vitalik Buterin has done, people have found a problem with it, and this is why the creators of these coins constantly step away. This was one of the hugest issues when it came to Tron. Irrespective of what Tron might have actually been able to do, Justin Sun was appearing in the news constantly, talking about fake partnerships, and Amazon was this and this was going to happen. And when none of it took place, people shunned the project and said, what's the point of us being here if you're not doing anything and you're constantly lying? So yeah, it was about time, and I'm shocked that he didn't do this before. Even the other crazier one, I know a lot of people miss this. A lot of people constantly send Vitalik Buterin free coins, and he doesn't want those coins, so he swaps those coins into Ether. He then uses that Ether to donate to different causes. If there's ever like a newsworthy event that you've heard in the news, he usually donates like $500,000, $1.35 million to that cause. But if you missed it, he actually sells the Ether. And you can imagine people are very upset because he's Vitalik Buterin. He's never supposed to sell Ether because people think that it's bearish, irrespective of the fact that this man gave $500,000, $1.2 million to a just cause. People were always upset. It says, and I quote, each time Vitalik shares insights or communicates a direction, he accelerates major long-term breakthroughs. His recent posts on RSICV have advanced promising avenues, while his writing on privacy have helped to realign the community around the Ethereum Foundation's core values. I want to make clear that Vitalik's proposals will always carry weight, but they are intended to start conversations and encourage progress in difficult research areas. Community review may refine them significantly or even reject them, end quote. Everything that Vitalik says, people think is law. Every time he says that he thinks that something should happen, If the community disagrees with it, he goes, that's fine. I'm just proposing something. But people think that Vitalik Buterin is saying, no, this is going to be on Ethereum, which is not how the system works. You also have to have a community vote. Yeah, it was about time. I'm very happy to hear this. I hope he actually just lives his life. I hope he wears a unicorn onesie, runs around in the street, and just does whatever the heck he wants because he's earned it. He made this thing in like 2013, 2014. It probably has had very little off time and is probably very annoyed with people constantly making fun of him when he's the one who has all the money. Yeah, I think that's going to do it for this video, my friends. I do sincerely hope that you have all enjoyed. I do hope that you all are having a great day. Morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, wherever the heck you might be, I do hope it is absolutely fantastic. Thank you all once again for watching, listening, liking, commenting, and supporting. And I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.